The following is a segment from session 3 of the Honestly Better Mental Fitness Show. If you would like a list of all the segments and full sessions, please visit honestlybetterfitness.com/list. That's honestlybetterfitness.com/list.
Welcome to LH Industrial's Honestly Better Mental Fitness. I'm Mike Lomberg. I'm the president of LH Industrial, standing in the middle of a breezeway in the shop in Tempe, Arizona, to get an idea of what we do behind us here. I found mental fitness a few years ago, and it changed my life. It's changed my family's life. And now we'll bring it to all of LH Industrial and recording it to put it out for us to hearing. Thank you for joining.
I want to dive into this for a moment of a little bit of where emotions come from, or maybe how this cycle works in conjunction with some of the other things that we talked about, like some of the past patterns and experiences and how that kicks up right now. So homeostasis just means at rest or at peace, or your system in balance, probably in that sympathetic nervous system. Something happens that triggers us in there. We hear something on the news. We see movement off in the distance and we're alerted to it. Somebody says something, a noise happens, right? And then we go into pattern matching. Like, what is that? When someone's getting angry or says this thing, then it goes into that. Or we see movement off in the distance. Is that a lion or is that another zebra? Right? We match it to patterns of the past. A dog comes running towards us. Like, what are my experiences of dogs? Oh, dogs are great. Like, it's going to kick up one emotion. Oh, dogs are not great because the last one bit me. Another emotion is going to come up. And this is a little bit about, it's not about the things that happen to us. It's about how we interpret the things that happen to us. The emotion is designed to eliminate the threat, right? Some reaction or defense. Someone says a rude comment to me. I respond with anger and a big rude comment. Or I respond by shutting down and making myself small. Or I respond by turning and leaving, right? Like it's an emotion designed to react to that problem or react to that perceived problem. And there's a little bit of like, okay, when things are not operating the way we would like them to, there's different ways to work through this system. We can catch ourselves at the emotion. Someone says something, it reacts, I get anger, and a lot of times we don't catch ourselves until we've already done the thing, right? And the sooner we catch ourselves in this cycle or become aware of that this cycle is happening, the earlier we can interrupt it, right? It might be at the reaction defense stage of I said the dumb thing that I didn't want to say, and I hurt somebody's feelings, and now I'm like, oh, I just did that. Okay, now I've got to backpedal, right? Then we can catch ourselves in the state of the emotion of like, oh, I'm really angry right now, or I'm feeling this thing right now, and I don't want to make a decision here. I don't want to do anything here. So I recognize that this is the current state I'm in, and I can take a step back. I can go breathe. I can do whatever it is I want to do, or whatever it is that helps me get to a better state before I make a reaction. Right? When we can go a step back of like, I'm being triggered by this thing, or I'm being pattern matching this thing, or even further back is like this is kind of the top down versus the bottom up, or that I've eliminated these patterns of the past. I've changed these subconscious patterns. I've written new experiences. That's a bit of a cold, right? I've now, like, it used to be I step in, I get cold, my body says, oh, I'm gonna die, and then I override it and I stay in anyways and I don't die, and it goes back. And now it's I step in and it's no longer a trigger. Like, my body doesn't even tell me I'm gonna die because I've had this experience so many times that I know that I'm not gonna die. And so I'm no longer even triggered by this thing in the first place. And so this is a bit of the awareness, mindfulness of like catching yourselves at different places in here. And I think this is a great quote by Marcus Aurelius here. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. But I think this is realizing that your reaction, emotion is a interpretation of it, probably based on the past, not necessarily based on this current moment. And it's not the thing. And Mike, you gave us a great example in there of the conflict and moving towards it's like, well, will this resolve the conflict? It's like, it's not even actually the conflict, it's me, and it's me being it. And what you have the power to do is speak what's right to you and speak the things that you need to speak, and what happens outside doesn't matter. This is like owning the things that we have control over and letting go of the things that we don't. And I think this is partly of facing the lions that are in front of us and not worrying about the lions that aren't, right? Because as human beings, zebras almost get eaten by a lion twice a week, right? We saw a lion once and we got nightmares and PTSD for the next 6 years, right? Like, that's part of the difference. There's also more into it that we'll dive into next, about getting out of the way of the emotional process, allowing emotions to flow. This isn't saying do whatever the emotions tell you to do, right? But this isn't don't suppress them, to go through a level of understanding of what is going on underneath the surface.
Just wanted to mention that Marcus Aurelius seems like kind of a mental fitness genius from 2000 years ago, doesn't he? Wasn't he about 2000 years ago?
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. Yeah.
So if anybody wants more information, and he was a very humble person, but he really had this stuff figured out. So read some of Marcus Aurelius's stuff, and you can see how a lot of this wisdom is truly ancient.
The more I've do this work and dive into all the different cultures, and it's like, yeah, they had things figured out a long time ago, and they do. And I think it's this continual rediscovery. There's beautiful ancient wisdom in there. And I think there's also something important, that he was writing this all down in his own private journal. It was for him. There's a level of he was a genius, and he struggled with the same things that we struggle with. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have been writing about it. And this is ways he figured out that was helpful to him.
Yeah. So we're all on this journey, and I don't know about you guys, but I've had to relearn things a few times myself. But people before that were relearning. We've been relearning the same things forever. And these things we're talking about have always worked. It's the human condition, I guess.
That's the way I see it.
But we need to keep learning them. And then to your earlier point, it's practice. It's not perfection. It's practice. So you're going to practice some of this stuff, and then you're going to remember something somebody told you 5 years ago that you're going to beat yourself up for not remembering it. And then that's fine. Just start it now.
Right.
And your kids will forget this stuff too, and they'll have to re-find it or not. And unfortunately, most people don't find it. They don't, even though it's written everywhere in every different way and it's accessible. That's what you'll notice as you get better and better with your mental fitness, and you strengthen that muscle. You're going to notice how shockingly rare it is for people to practice these things, and that'll bother you for a little while until you get mentally fit enough to say it's okay. No judgment. They don't have to, they're just not ready to. So, yeah. But Marcus Aurelius, check him out. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think the key message in the quote is, we look externally, and if we could just fix the external, then internally I could feel good. And I think it goes the other way around.